And here we are with the neck. Okay, I've been working on the torpedo circuit. I'm getting ready to run fiber optics up through and into the actual torpedo bays. But I wanted to take this time and set up the beauty lights. So what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to use a little bit of clay to position these lights in the position where they need to be. Then I'm going to epoxy them in place. They're going to go down through and into the engineering hall where they will be lit up. I'm going to be adding in here some of that long strip LED lighting on both sides, and then I'm going to attach the neck to the actual body and use a thin layer of putty down the back and around the front here to putty everything up, make it look good. Then I'm going to start doing some more work on the lower and upper primary hull with regards to the blinkies, etc. I want to get the engineering hull wrapped up as soon as I can so I can start assembly after testing the new circuits. I also want to have everything ready as much as possible for the upper and lower primary hull. So that's where we're at on the neck right now. You will see this again later. Moving on to the next refit thingy. All right, here are the 4 sections of the main engineering hull of the Polar Lights refit. This set of parts is literally from 4 different models. I had a friend of mine send me literally a case of models. He got so disgusted trying to do a good build on this ship that he just finally said to hell with it and sent me all of his parts and everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this collection of rejects to create one complete engineering hull. In the meantime, I want to use it to do a couple of demonstrations. First of all, as you can see here, I've got some masking tape residue. I had all these parts masked together, and naturally they split and cracked, so I had to pull the masking tape off, and there was masking tape residue, as this had been out in the garage during the heat of the summer while I was working on a lawnmower engine. So as a result of the heat and humidity, the masking tape really stuck to the pretty pearl paint. So I wanted to show, as I showed once before, one way to get this off, which I don't have it handy, but is to use paper towels and or 70% rubbing alcohol or 90% rubbing alcohol, or you can buy 100% pure rubbing alcohol at your local hardware store and or Home Depot, etc. The stronger the alcohol, the more it pulls off the adhesive. Now, since this is enamel-based paint, the alcohol does not hurt the paint. In fact, even this pearl, this pretty pearl, does not get hurt by the alcohol. It's just getting that adhesive off. Now, another thing, quickly. I'm going to be working on Lance's refit. In fact, I'm working on it right now, but it's out in the garage. I'm going to be using these 12-volt pre-wired LEDs for beauty lights, and I want to make sure they're going to get shown exactly in the right position. So on Lance's refit, I opened up these 2 holes to give me a little room to maneuver the LEDs. I then held them in place with a little bit of clay and used some binary epoxy to epoxy them in place so that the beauty lights will show on the pylons like they do in the movie. At any rate, rubbing alcohol, great for getting adhesive off of plastic parts. Think about it, try it, check it out. All right, as I said earlier, I'm going to assemble. God, I hate this model. I mean, this thing is just such a friggin' nightmare. I'm going to assemble all of these parts, putty everywhere where it needs puttied, sand, smooth, shape, recut grid lines, and I'm going to attach the neck because I'm going to work it out where I never, ever have to go through this garbage with this engineering hull ever again. If I ever get another build on one of these SOBs, I'm going to have parts ready to go and not have to deal with this flippin' nightmare. You will see that soon. More to come. Keep on trekking. All right, I'm going to be doing some fine assembly on the upper and lower primary hull of the 1/350th refit build-up and model and base, electronics, etc., yada yada, that I've been working on for some time. But I wanted to touch a couple of things. I'm getting ready to run fiber optics up into the bridge so that we can have the blinkies. Also, I'm going to be scraping very carefully a section away on either side of the hatch so that when I light this from underneath and behind, you will see the two hatch lights that you see all over all the hatches on the refit in the movies. Now, I've already got this pre-painted and pearled and everything else, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, scrape the area where I'm going to glue it. I've already got the LED set for the forward beauty lights. I'm going to glue this down, let it set up, lightly sand on the connection points, tape everything off, shoot it with a light coat of primer, flat white and pearl, and then smooth everything together. So you will see that very soon. Now, on these lights, I bought a whole batch of these surface mount LEDs. These are really cheap. You can get these online on eBay, Amazon, wherever. Cheap, cheap, cheap. These are the non-waterproof type. They're a little cheaper than the waterproof. There at first I started trying to make sure that I conserved as much of these lights as I could to expand them across several builds, and they're just getting so cheap it's not even worth it. So from now on, except for in the neck and a couple of tight places, I'm going to be using long strips in the engineering hulls and in the pylons, because it's so much easier, saves so much time, so much less soldering. Now on here, as I showed before, there's a positive and negative on the top and the bottom. Make sure that you get that right when you solder the connections together. I showed in a previous video that yes, indeed, you can solder these together. I was a little concerned about it at first simply because there's like a plastic laminate over the top. But yeah, a soldering iron burns through that and the solder makes good connection, no problem. Now, these are impulse engine brass grills that I've painted flat black. This is my friend John's pattern and I have his permission to use them. And I'm going to be selling these pretty soon because they just make things go so much easier. All you've got to do is frost the impulse engine, cut these out, paint them flat black, put them in place, and you're done. And there's absolutely no light getting through the brass as opposed to, say, the decal. All right, you will see these in action soon, sooner and soonest. Okay, more to come on the refit. Whoa! Okay, more on the refit. Yes, again, I'm going to be doing some assembly. I've already done all the light blocking, etc. And I wanted to show these parts and show a couple of things. Now, if you look here, I painted the entire inside flat black. I wanted to light block this to the max, okay? Now what I've done here is I've painted everything flat black in more than one coat. So all I have to do is lightly scrape exactly where the parts are gonna mate up. Now, I've already shot these pieces that go in the back here with some clear, transparent clear blue on the inside and a light coat of the light blue on the outside. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to scrape off the appropriate areas, make sure I got them perfectly clean, then I'm going to mask and reshoot with a light coat of blue, insert those into the back of the shuttle bay deck, and I've already got a piece, the insert that goes here, painted candy apple red, several coats of candy apple red on the back of it. I'm going to insert that. That way I can just use super bright white LEDs here, here, and here. So that'll go right along with the other lighting that I showed earlier. Boom, boom. You will see this later. Now, this is some of the brass that my good friend Elliot made up with John's patterns, so I'm not trying to take credit for somebody else's work. I'm getting ready to insert all of these into the pylons and move forward with some more of the build. So there we go. Okay, here's a little something on painting and masking. I'm getting ready to paint these details for the nacelles for the 350 buildup for the second or third time. I've had these done a couple of times. Unfortunately, my cat seems to think that my toolbox is her toy box. She gets a hold of stuff and I have no idea where it goes. I guess one day I'll pull out a dresser or something and there will be all of my little model parts. All right, so I'm masking off the area where they're going to be glued into the nacelles. I'm going to go ahead and shoot this with some flat white, let it dry. Then I'm going to hit it with some pearl. Then I'm going to paint the black details so that these are ready to start assembling the nacelles. So here we go again. Anyway, always mask off the areas where you're going to glue before you do any painting so that when you assemble, you don't have to worry about scraping it off. Now you can do it either way. You can go ahead and paint everything and then scrape off the area where it's going to glue together, or mask first. I'm behind on this, so I went ahead and wasted some masking tape and I'm moving on it. There we go.